they are forcing a young man or a young woman who has just left college and other institutions to pay 7,200 to be able to get registered under this curriculum support. And as if that is not enough, Mr. Speaker, they have also gone ahead and introduced something they are calling exams fee. Mr. Speaker, from the colleges that we have been in and from the institutions that we have been in, exam fee is paid as a lump sum for an institution. For this particular body, Mr. Speaker, they have introduced 4,500 per unit, Mr. Speaker. That means that if a young person who has come from college and who has come from another institution of higher learning, a tertiary institution, wants to be a member of this particular organization, Mr. Speaker, then they have to struggle to pay 4,500 times 6, which that attracts about 27,000, Mr. Speaker. Again, as if that is not enough, Mr. Speaker, they have introduced something they are calling here administration fees of 2,500. And this administration fee, Mr. Speaker, an admin fee cannot be paid per unit. An admin fee, Mr. Speaker, is paid to an institution as a whole. And Mr. Speaker, if you have introduced another 2,500 on this unit, Mr. Speaker, it means that a young person has to struggle again and pay 15,000, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if you go to a tertiary institution like, let's say, you go and you have studied some technical skills, Mr. Speaker, in NITA, you will have paid 100,000, Mr. Speaker. And then you come to this institution that is just a professional body, then you are required to pay 49,500 as a young person to be a member of that professional body, Mr. Speaker. What are we doing to young people in this country, Mr. Speaker? I hope that the minister in charge of labor and social welfare in this country, Mr. Speaker, will take this very seriously. In fact, this entire board should be sanctioned, because this is an exploitation for young people that makes it completely prohibitive. This is the board called Human Resource Management Professionals Examination Board. It is not fair to young people to go through higher institutions of learning, go through colleges, go through tertiary education, and then when you come back, you are being again prohibited from joining these professional bodies because of exorbitant fees. And then, once you've gone through this, Mr. Speaker, you've paid them all this money, they are not even giving you after service kind of services. You know, if you're taking all this money, Mr. Speaker, ordinarily you should give them after services, you know, after where you make sure that at least you help them get placements in jobs, Mr. Speaker. You have paid all this money, then again you're being told, go and tarmac now, Mr. Speaker, as a young person. And then you get to these jobs, Mr. Speaker, you're told as a young person, you don't have experience. You don't have experience. You have gone through NITA, you have gone through Kenya School of Mass Communication, you have gone through again this professional body, Mr. Speaker, spent your entire savings in it, and then a young man is left out to die, Mr. Speaker, without a job. And then we wonder why crime rates have increased in Nairobi, in Mombasa. We are seeing things like drugs among young people. It is because of this frustration, Mr. Speaker. This is what I hope that even the government of the day should actually be able to see, because the hustler nation, from where majority comes from and from where my brother Senator of Nandi comes from, Mr. Speaker, today if you look at the rate of stress and depression-related deaths in those places, it is skyrocketing to 11% in Eldoret. It is skyrocketing to 7% in Kisumu, Mr. Speaker. It is going to about 15% in places like Nairobi, because these young people don't have opportunities for jobs and they're being frustrated, Mr. Speaker. I rest on that, and I make a very small comment on the issue of accidents, Mr. Speaker, that we have seen in this country, that even claimed again the life of comrades from Kenyatta University, Mr. Speaker.
What is the point of order, Senator Chirange?
Mr. Speaker, is it I rise under Constitution on the right to dignity, human dignity, Article 28, and also Article 27, Mr. Speaker, on equality and freedom from discrimination. Is it in order, Mr. Speaker, for the senator from Nyatike or sorry, from Migori, Mr. Speaker, County, to allege myself, the majority leader, and yours truly, that where we come from, there is high stress levels for young people, and that's, Mr. Speaker. Yet this is a national problem. Is it in order to discriminate and abuse the dignity of the people we represent in this house, Mr. Speaker? Is it in order, Mr. Speaker? While we know where it comes from is more worse, Mr. Speaker. I can give the poverty index levels that there was there, Mr. Speaker.
Senator
Oh, sorry.
no, you can have your seat. Senator Eddie Okech, unless you have the data,
Yes.
you may have to proceed to withdraw that statement.
Mr. Speaker, I have the data of stress and depression levels in Eldoret and all other places in this country, Mr. Speaker. And I think that
You may now proceed to table the statement.
Senator
Eddie,
Mr. Speaker, if you give me time, I will get you the data, because right now I'm telling you what is in my head.
Order, honorable senators. Senator Eddie.
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Proceed to table the data.
Mr. Speaker, if you give me time, I can prepare for you that and then bring it tomorrow.
Very well.
Or on Tuesday.
You will substantiate tomorrow.
But Mr. Speaker, there is a context that was misrepresented by Senator Cherargei. And I think that he struggles from the fact that perhaps he did not study linguistics. I don't know how he became a lawyer. Mr. Speaker, I said, for example, Eldoret, Kisumu, Nairobi. I could not be able to mention all these towns, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Eddie, stop eating into your time. Proceed to conclude your statement.
Mr. Speaker, I want to conclude by saying that the issue of accident in this country, Mr. Speaker, that actually even claimed the lives of 11 students from KU, again, struggling young people in this country who are comrades, who should not die without seeing their dreams come true, Mr. Speaker. I think that it should be declared a national emergency. And these are my reasons, Mr. Speaker. In 2020 and 2021, Mr. Speaker, the number of lives that we lost during COVID was 5,668. And I hope Cherargei can be able to fact check on that as well. But, Mr. Speaker, if we had COVID and we declared a national emergency on COVID issues in this country for over 2.5 years, Mr. Speaker, and we had 5,668 deaths. You remember 2007 elections, Mr. Speaker, when things were heated in this country, we lost about 1,000 lives, Mr. Speaker. Yet we have got people dying on our roads on an average of 4,628 every year, Mr. Speaker. If we don't declare the road carnage that we are seeing in this country an emergency, Mr. Speaker, we are never going to deal with it. Because if it is not declared, even the ministry concerned, Mr. Speaker, cannot be able to deal sometimes with issues of road signages in this country that makes it impossible for even road users to know where there's a simple bump at night.
What is the point
or
of
know where there's a simple...
Senator Eddie, just take your seat. Yes, Senator Kenya, proceed with the point of order.
Mr. Speaker, I'm wondering, because it's just a statement, I'm wondering whether Eddie is debating the statement. I thought just to make his comment.
Senator Eddie, proceed to conclude. And don't start a debate on these statements.
Mr. Speaker, you know, Senator Kenya is my senior.
Just proceed.
And
Senator Eddie.
What I'm trying to say, Mr. Speaker, is that these statements, we're just sending them to these respective ministries, departmental ministries, so that there can be what we call a proper action taken on these statements. And one of the proper actions that we need to take by those ministries that I'm saying, Mr. Speaker, is being able that when the minister will be talking to this, he should tell us why we cannot be able to declare this issue a serious national emergency and be able to deal with the patent issues on our roads that do go and concern the issue of signages on our roads, to be able to reduce these accidents on our roads, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, I support these two statements wholeheartedly because they are costing so much lives, and mostly, the most affected people tend to be young people, Mr. Speaker, who should be able to see their dreams come true in this country. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Senators, allow me to make this communication before we proceed with the interventions. In the public gallery, we have 148 students, from 4 students and 5 teachers from Kiurani Boys High School in Tharaka Nithi County, who are undertaking a one-day education visit in the Senate. Honorable Senators, in our usual tradition of receiving and welcoming visitors to Parliament, I extend a warm welcome to them, and on behalf of the Senate, on my own behalf, wish them a fruitful visit. Also, I would like to acknowledge the presence in the Speaker's Gallery this afternoon of visiting students from students leaders from Kenyatta University School of Law in Nairobi City County. The delegation comprises 11 students who are in the Senate for a one-day academic exposition. Now, Honorable Senators, in our usual tradition of receiving and welcome visitors to Parliament, I extend a warm welcome to them, and on behalf of the Senate and on my own behalf, wish them a fruitful visit. I will call upon the Majority Leader to extend the word of welcome to the student leaders from Kenyatta University, and Honorable Deputy Speaker, you may extend the word of welcome to the delegation from Tharaka Nithi. This has to be done under 1 minute for both of you. Proceed, Majority.
I was hoping, Mr. Speaker, that the Deputy Speaker doesn't interrupt, so that if I do for both schools, you'll allow me then to make my comments on the statements. But I abide by your guidance. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I take this opportunity on behalf of the Senate to welcome the students from Kenyatta University Law Campus who are here on an educational tour. This is the Senate, Parliament of the Republic of Kenya. All we do here is talk, talk, and talk, because that's what parliaments do. People share